The fun days of golf.
Oh no.
Okay, it's a really long way.
It's going nowhere but the bottom.
Oh, I like the confidence.
Yeah.
So is that a human up there? Man?
It sure is, finding golf balls. It's about 180.
All right, 180.
What do you got? Hey, all right. Hey, welcome back, guys, for another episode of Cops and Convicts. I'm Josh Lair.
And I'm Rodney Bamford.
And today we have two special guests from an organization up in the Portland metropolitan area called 4D Recovery. And so throughout this episode, we're going to be talking about 4D. We're going to hear from our guests, who are
Adrian Burris, the Recovery Service Director for the state of Washington.
And Robert Sanders, the Director of Adolescent Services.
And so as we are asking questions and having conversation, our goal is to learn about 4D Recovery and all of the amazing services that they offer to our young people, our young community. So again, hey, thank you guys for joining us. Again, big shout out to Creekside Golf Club for allowing us to film out here, and some of our sponsors. Rain sweater. Again, there will be a link to rain sweater. This is one of the sweaters. Thankfully, it's not raining. However, it is waterproof and it is very warm. So again, thanks to Rain Sweater and Creekside for allowing us to do this. You ready to do this?
Yep, let's hit it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's gonna work too.
Right in there.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good, man.
All right. So, Adrian,
Yeah.
what made you get into this business?
Oh man, it was just happenstance, I guess. Got towards the end of my stay at treatment, went to DOA. I got introduced to 4D. I was a client first, so I don't know if you know Cody Roberts. Yeah, I assume you know Cody Roberts, but yeah. So he came into VOA one day. I liked the shoes that he was wearing. He was wearing some J's, and I was like,
Yeah, I bet he was.
It's like, those are dope. Yeah.
I'm gonna check to see if I can find mine over here.
But yeah, like the shoes that he was wearing, we had a conversation, mentored me. Eventually they said, you can do this one day. Yeah, and here I am.
That's really cool. Yeah, I do know Cody, and he pretty much always has a pretty clean pair of J's on.
Oh yeah. What are you hitting?
A Titleist.
Oh, good shot.
Hopefully it makes it.
You're maybe just a little short. It might have kicked right a little bit, but you can get a pitch and a putt there for par.
Perfect.
Good shot. So how long have you been with 4D?
I started at 4D in September of 2020. I had just celebrated my 2 years on May 31st, 2020, and that's when MACBO allowed me to step into the mentor role.
So 2 years sober. Yeah. So how long were you not sober?
Well, to be honest, my drug use, my alcohol use, it started when I was about 13, and when progressed for the next 5 years, and at 18 I joined.
Okay.
At 18 I joined the Navy and spent 3.5 years in there, and during that time I had to quit smoking pot or doing anything else, but I very quickly found alcohol as a substitute, and so that kind of caught up with me for a while, and came home and I spent another 4 years doing heroin and everything else. But
So, I mean, obviously you went to treatment by what you just said. Mm-hmm. What was that? How old were you when you got started with substances?
So I was probably 16 when I smoked weed for the first time, but that wasn't when, you know, this whole cascade of events started. 16, and then when I was 18, 19, that was when I really started getting into stuff pretty heavy, pills, coke. But at that time I was doing it what I thought was recreationally. Didn't become like a huge problem until I was probably in my early 20s.
Okay. How old are you now?
I'm 34, just turned 34.
How many years you been clean?
9.
Nice.
On the 9th.
You just celebrated 9 years?
Mm-hmm.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Where'd your ball go?
Thank you. My ball is over here somewhere. I know I went to the right of him. This might be me right here. Maybe. I hope.
Where at?
Right there. Nope, that is not
That
me.
is a flower.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't find it super soon, I might have to drop, man.
Oh, there's a ball up here on the right.
You see it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's about to drive on it.
Oh yeah, that's me. Yep. There we go.
Yeah, buddy. All right, so you are 125 to the middle.
So you said 3.5 years in the Navy drinking, and then you came and you graduated to heroin.
Yeah. So
How did that happen?
Yeah, when I first came home, I was working as a security guard at the Rose Quarter and found myself one night a little bit drunk with some of my friends in downtown Portland, and we ended up not being able to find our car, and so they walked over to the Rose Quarter and got in a fight with one of my coworkers that was working security there. I was watching it, but I ended up getting fired. And at that point, I went back to doing what I knew, which was selling pot. And that got me connected with a girl that I had known in high school. And I didn't know that she was in recovery at the time. I didn't have any of that information, right? But we started seeing each other, dating, and a couple months later, she relapsed, and my prescription to Oxy had run out. And so from that point on, it was just kind of a rapid fall into it.
And then how many years were you?
About 4.
About 4. Uh-oh. That's the first bad one of the day. That's trouble.
4 years for me to go through any credit that I'd built up while I was in the service, to get arrested, to, have basically everything that I had planned go away, because I wanted to be a social studies teacher when I exited. That was kind of my plan. And as soon as I caught that first felony, I knew that wasn't going to be a possibility for me anymore. Which for a long time, it felt like to me for a long time that made it something that I wanted, or it became an excuse for me to continue doing what I was doing. See if we can find this.
So you then got yourself into recovery, and then how did you get started with 4D?
So, go back just a minute. I talked a little bit before we were on camera about the role that my probation officer played, and him and I were going back and forth, just trying to figure out what was going to work, right? And I had asked him at one point, I was like, hey, I need to go to VOA. And at that time, he's like, well, you got arrested in Clackamas County, only Multnomah County can do referrals. I'm not going to be able to do that. Can we look at CSAP or some other options? And I didn't want to do CSAP at the time. I wasn't that willing. But since that conversation happened a little bit later, the woman I was telling you about, she passed away.
Oh.
I spent another year out there, not really processing that, not really dealing with any of those emotions, but going deeper and deeper into the life. And on May 30th of 2018, I got to a spot where I was in the Del Rancho on 92nd and Flavel, and I didn't have any excuses for why I was unhappy anymore. I didn't have any excuses on why my hustle wasn't working, why none of it was working. And that's when I made the phone call to my sister and was like, I'm finally ready. I need to do something.
So your girlfriend, she passed from a drug overdose?
Yeah.
From probably heroin?
Yeah.
That's too bad. That's really too bad. So then you got started in the program, and then did you just kind of escalate and saying, this is something that I want to do and help?
Yeah. So I got on May 30th, when I called my sister, she ended up working some magic and getting me into DePaul the next day. When I was at DePaul, I had one peer mentor that took me to Recovery in the House at the Alano Club, 3 o'clock, and I met my sponsor there. And from there, I was able to get some information. I realized I needed more support than just the residential stay. I needed something that was going to be a little bit longer. And so I went into the mentor program at CCC, got linked up with my first mentor, Chet, and dude told me some really good information. He's like, bro, I understand that you have some guilt around what happened with your girl. And he told me, like, it's okay to punish yourself once, but you can't do it every single day. So you got to figure out what that's going to look like and stop what you're doing. And from there, I got linked up with Adrian. He was actually my mentor in 2018. And we just started going to the gym, playing basketball, and I was able to find a community of people. And yeah, I got to a spot where I was like, okay, I want to be able to be that person for somebody else.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, scolded. Slow down.
Oh, that's not bad though.
That's not terrible.
No.
It's not how I envisioned it, going high in the air and like
just land right by the cup. That's always good.
That's what I had in my mind. But yeah, 9 years, man. On the 9th, it's definitely like a blessing. I mean, it's almost a decade.
Yeah.
And I never thought, like I remember those times where it's just like I couldn't even fathom not using for 24 hours.
Right.
Especially because my thing was opiates. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
So what with it being opiates? I mean, that's obviously that's a hot topic ticket right there.
Yeah.
You start looking at where we're at in the world today with fentanyl being the number one, opiate, illicit opiate being used. What opiate did you start using? You had said pills. Was it pills?
Yeah, so it was pills. And the odd thing is when I was using pills, like I didn't ever develop a physical dependency on the drug. So, it was kind of like I was naive to the fact that there was this whole, physical chemical dependency in the first place. But that really set me up because I'm just like, at that point, I'm like, okay, like my idea of addiction, well, I guess I must not be an addict because I don't feel like I have to do this stuff. I just like it. Then when I started doing heroin, which is, it was like, oh, yeah, that was different,
So did you start using heroin because the pill option wasn't a thing?
No. So a lot of people, that's how they started, but it was more just me, running into a friend. And this friend is who I used to use drugs with like all the time. We spent some time apart, came back around him, and by that time he was doing heroin.
So it's just like level up.
Yeah, he was just like, all right, you want to try this? You want to try this, Cuddy? And I'm like, what is it? He's like, it's heroin. At that time I'm like, man, I've never seen heroin before. I heard about it, so I was just really naive, and I tried it. I got sick like the first time, didn't like it. And then second time I did it, I liked it. And I remember it was tax return time. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to spend my whole tax return on this. I'm going to spend like half of it, and like have fun. So we did it for like a week and then ran out. And I was like, well, that's it. Went home, woke up the next day, felt funny. And so then I called him. I was like, hey, man. He was like, yeah, you're dope sick. So yeah, that was my introduction into heroin and the realization that like, okay, well, shit, like I might have to do this every day. you know, and I accepted that reality fairly quick, you know, and then that, you know, came to hiding it, concealing it from my parents, which I did that for a while. But yeah, that was my introduction.
Yeah, it's funny that, you know, so I remember when I first got into because opiates wasn't my thing, amphetamines and alcohol was. But I remember when I first became a counselor and I was talking to clients, it was like that gradual progression from, you know, like got hurt playing sports, started doing pills, then they took the pills away, and was like, you know, they were already addicted. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little bit different, but that's why I asked that, because it was like, that seems to be, which obviously I know you know in this field, like that's like that natural progression back then, right? Because now kids are just starting off using fentanyl. They're not even, they're just bypassing, just straight to fentanyl. And it's like, yeah. All right, let's see what it looks like.
So this is where I was thinking, because that tree right there.
This way?
Like, yeah, right here. So I backed up, and I remember those trees right there.
Yeah.
In the middle was kind of like along the line of where I saw the ball go. Nice putt.
Not bad. It may be cold, but the greens are rolling pretty fast and pretty
Oh my
true.
goodness, yeah, they're
Do you like the pin in or out?
out.
Oh, we scared him with all that
Yeah,
fast
I
talk.
Oh, dude.
Good putt.
Bogue. That scared the hell out of me, I'm not gonna lie.
Get there.
Good putt.
Thank
Nice
you.
putt.
It's a bogey. That terrible second shot.
No, I pushed
Oh,
it. And that is a double.
That'll work.
there you
That'll
go.
work.
Get up and go.
Get there.
Oh, there you go.
It's pretty good.
Sounded good.
Yeah.
Just a little left.
Oh, no.
Totally lost it. It was not good.
Ooh.
Anybody see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to the right on that the edge of that right hill.
Wow, what is going on in my swing today? You know, golf is fun enough and challenging enough, but when you add cameras and trying to have conversations about other topics,
Yeah.
it's going to add some comedic relief to this, because that was really, really bad. I haven't done that in a while.
Well, I just appreciate you leading the way, because I'm going to do it soon.
So I never saw my ball. Is it going to be in the tall stuff?
I think so. I think it's right up in this area.
Yeah, so many people, man, I watched when I was new to this field as a counselor. It was like almost everybody that came into detox, because that's where I started my career, is at Bridgeway as a detox counselor. And it seemed like everybody I was doing an ASAM assessment on, man, it was like, got hurt, got in a car accident, got hurt in sports, something, you know, pretty similar. And it was like graduation, like pills to heroin.
Yeah, man. Yeah, mine it's a little unique. It was like the pills to heroin story, but not, you know, the context was a little different.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where most of my friends, because my addiction started in Vancouver, Washington, which is why it's even more, you know, meaningful for me to be the director of the state of Washington. And bring services out there. But yeah, a lot of my friends, that's how it started, you know, and like they started with the oxys or whatever, and then all of a sudden they couldn't get a hold of the oxys. So heroin was cheaper, easily accessible.
Dude, that's amazing. Like if you just like sit and you think, which I'm sure that you do, especially just celebrating 9 years, like you sit and you think, man, 9 years ago, bro, you were strung out on dope. And now you're the director. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that's it. You hear so often. I don't think you hear often enough. Addiction is so stigmatized, right? That like once an addict, always an addict, and you know you're never gonna change, and people don't, right? And it's like here you are 9 years later, and you're the director for the state of Washington for 4D recovery. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if people don't believe change is real, like, you are the perfect example of what could happen in a person's life if they grab a hold of what is really to offer in recovery.
Right.
9 years and you're the director.
100%. And that's something that I never would have thought was possible, even though Cody and Tony did a really good job of, like, you know, embodying the fact that this was possible, you know, showing me being that living example. But, you know, and they took it to new heights.
Oh, 100%.
So, yeah,
100%.
I'm grateful, man. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just pushing new limits and showing that different things are possible.
Oh, yeah, man.
Always.
Oh, get out.
Sit. The fun days of golf.
Get there. Ooh, what?
Oh,
Oh,
How many people do you work with at 4D on average?
Are you talking about like clients?
How
participants?
about a whole, and then how many clients do you have?
So I don't have any anymore. The team that I been working with, they served over 70 people over the last year, and 4D as a whole served over, I want to say 1,000. We just launched our adolescent programming last July, and we've done kind of intentionally a very slow rollout, just to make sure we had all the policies, procedures, everything in place. And we've really focused on partnering with Rivercrest Academy and Harmony Academy. And so the census that they have there, Harmony Academy has about 45 students, Rivercrest has about 30. And so kind of starting there, and then we want to be able to take that out to Portland Public Schools and other places as well.
Okay. And then this is for the youth. What age range of people do you work with?
Yeah, so our team does 14 to 17.
14 to 17?
And then our young adult program, they do 18 to 35.
Okay.
And that's where you get nearly 1,000 people across Washington County, Multnomah County, and Clackamas County.
So, okay. So does the program, is it just deal with addiction and recovery, or does it help reintegrate into society, trying to help them get jobs, housing?
Yeah. So we use a goal-oriented approach. We figure out the 3 things that they want to accomplish, right? And what we'll do is we'll start working on this modality called recovery capital. And so we start, what are those 3 things that you want to accomplish? What resources do you already have access to? What would be helpful to get connected, to be connected with? And then from there, we start to develop this pathway where, we'll drive them around, we'll get them connected with the employment specialist, we'll get them connected with SNAP benefits, whatever it is for them that's going to help them accomplish their self-determined goals. We break down the barriers that stand in between where they're at and where they want to be.
Okay, that's great.
But yeah, our services are geared towards people that have substance use disorder.
Yeah, so next one, par 5, left is out of bounds because it's to the driving range.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we don't want to hit people.
Oof, not at all.
Not anymore. Oh, there you go. Oh, no, come in.
Yep.
Did Josh tell you that's OB over there?
Yep.
Yeah, that's gone.
Yep.
There you go.
Stay down. Oh,
Some roll to it.
Right
I'm
by
OB.
right by the lawnmower.
I gotta hit another
Hoping the
one.
groundskeeper would kick it for us.
Right?
Come in
Good
a little
ball.
bit.
Come back in.
It's coming back.
Great ball, Josh.
Great. Dang. Yeah.
That is a bomb.
Yeah.
So now that you guys are since you guys are waiting on stuff in Washington, where are you just housed in Portland?
Yeah. Yeah, so our services aren't, we aren't providing any services under my program. So right now, it's more like designing the program, creating budgets, working with the grant writer. So right now, I'm not managing staff. I just recently transferred over from being director of operations, so still doing some of those duties as well.
So as you build this, you got the dual role.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too burdensome. It's more of some reporting stuff. But yeah, I think that might be me right there.
Oh yeah, up there on the.
I'm hoping so. Yeah, another damn mushroom.
No, that's a golf ball.
That's me, I think.
Nice. Okay, it's a really long way.
Good ball.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't, honestly, when I first got linked up with Adrian, he had came into the Madrona, which is the CCC building I was at. And he just came in as one of the guys, and he's like, hey, how you doing? You know, and he said, hey, I'm putting together a basketball team. We're going to play in the Portland City League. And so when I first started working with him, he knew that I needed recovery support. I needed community. I didn't really understand what we were doing. And that whole first year, it was every time he would drop me off, he was asking, hey, what are we working on? How have you been doing this week? Like, he was helping me set goals and then following up to see how I was doing, breaking them down. And for me, it was like just being a friend and a positive person in my life. And it wasn't happening in a clinical setting. It was happening in 4D's van to and from the gym. And that's what I needed at that time, because I didn't want to go sit in another office and go through it like that.
And did basketball give you an outlet?
Yeah, it was, for me, it was like something, okay, I was very nervous about talking to people at that time. And it was something where I could just go and do an activity and still be a part of and build my community that way. And then from there, you know, he was pushing me to get into school and telling me like, hey, I think you'd be good at this, and putting that seed of hope or seed of purpose, I guess, I don't know. It just some kind of belief in myself that I could be able to help somebody else. And he's been doing that ever since.
Great. You still call him when you struggle?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Probably talk to him more than anybody besides my wife. You know, that's just the relationship. And up until I blew out my right knee, we were still playing basketball 3 times a week.
That's great. Did you play basketball like in high school? Or?
I did. I went to a little charter school, but I was pretty damn good at basketball. And if I had gone to one of the public ones and hadn't got into drinking and using, could have been a little different. But I definitely was playing it with my friends. We were going down to the city park and doing that. I did a little bit of AAU, but after my sophomore year, I kind of stopped all sports together. That was the first time I injured one of my knees. So.
Okay, so when you stopped playing, it was because you injured, but did drugs play a part in that? Because you said you started when you were about, 13 was it? So drugs and alcohol?
They didn't help.
It didn't help.
They didn't help. I would say that all those things were going on. And then after I'd lost the ability to play basketball, it got a lot worse, you know, and I don't know if doing the drugs and doing all that stuff played a role in me getting injured, because I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't stretching. I wasn't doing the workouts. I wasn't doing anything that I was supposed to be doing, right? And for me, it became, because at that time, later on I said, hey, I wanted to be a social studies teacher. At that time, I wanted to play basketball. And so I lost that, and I didn't really know how to replace it, or what community, what friend group I really belonged to anymore. But the kids that I was smoking pot with didn't care about that, and that's kind of where I found myself.
The acceptance from those. I mean, playing sports is great, and I grew up playing sports, and you had the camaraderie and stuff like that. But when you were kind of on the outside, if you weren't a good player or maybe you're hurt, you get isolated from the team. You're not part of that, but you found acceptance kind of in that drug community. That's one thing that we got to try and fix.
Come back in. Come back in.
That would be 3. So if I'm there, I'm still there and with a, looking at a birdie.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely made it. You're like pin high.
We'll start with the 14 to 17. What would you say is the hardest barrier that you guys deal with?
I'd say that the hardest barrier with that specific age group would be lack of complementary services. Meaning that there's not a lot of services geared towards that age group in the state of Oregon, period. Like they're largely underserved, and I think it's something that the state has identified. They did a OHSU did a statewide gaps analysis that basically took inventory of like what services were available versus the perceived need, and then like calculated a percentage or like a certain amount that like we were under by. So I can't remember the specific numbers, but I know that youth services, like services for people like adolescents, were definitely largely underserved.
Which when you start looking at, again, stigma, you start looking at addiction, period. If we're not doing something to prevent our youth from engaging, or even when they do engage, stopping, all we do is continue with the inevitable, right? Then we need more adult services because there's just more people coming into adult treatment rather than, preventative, which Pam Pierce, I know you know Pam, right? Yep. So you get her, I love having conversations with her, right? Because she started the first, sober high school, right? Recovery high school.
Or Harmony.
Yeah, Harmony. Yep. So you start talking to her and everything that she does. I mean, prevention needs to be like number 1.
Yeah.
Right? Instead, it's backwards. We're doing stuff about people currently in addiction rather than prevention.
Right, yeah. I definitely think that we need to, take a stronger approach with prevention, because otherwise it's like, what are we waiting for individuals to get to a certain point where they are now in that age group of, 18 to 35, and then it's like a steeper hill to climb for these individuals.
Which is crazy, especially here in the state of Oregon, right? Because at 12 years old, I remember taking my oldest, who's now 26, I remember taking her to the doctor when she was 12, and they're like, she needs to sign a release of information. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, it's like...
like, I'm dad.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And they're like, oh yeah, but the way that it is here in Oregon is at 12 years old, right? They have the right to make their own medical decisions. And I'm like, I pay for her insurance.
Right.
What do you mean?
Right.
So you would think that with that being a thing at 14, somebody can engage in medication-assisted treatment, right, in the state of Oregon without parents' permission.
Oh, wow.
So if you start looking at like at 14 years old, they can make that choice. Well, then we need to back up and do some things different when it comes to prevention, right? So yeah, it's a powerful tool. Yeah. We just need to figure out how. Tony's been preaching it for years.
Yeah.
So like, if you guys are the largest peer-ran organization in this state, and if you guys have been screaming it and your guys' organization continues to grow, that means the problem is continuing to grow, right?
Right, exactly.
Like, so it doesn't take, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out we need to do something.
Yeah.
You see that? He didn't even move. I love Bryce. He's
So
so
he
cool.
didn't blink,
even move.
dude.
Nothing. We drive away and he stays in the same position.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Right now in Oregon, there's 37,000 kids struggling with substance use disorder. And in 2023, there was around 40 operational treatment beds that kids could access. And so, the gaps there aren't good. But going back to what you were saying, yeah, I think we do have to fix, teen attitudes around substance use and help them find community that doesn't involve using drugs. And I think that's one thing. If you look at like community living above and the work Pam Pierce is doing out there, or Debbie Jones at her organization, there's a lot of really good work going in to help raise the protective factors to help kids avoid drugs to begin with. But we need more activities that they can access early on that help create that community. And then supports in place if something happens and they can no longer participate in those things. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was young and growing up, and I heard a lot of adults talking about, you got to go do sports. You got to go do something. If you don't want to do sports, you need to do something. You need to stay busy. We don't want you just on the street, hanging out, having idle times on your hands, because that's when, unfortunately, kids start looking to do things that aren't quite right. And a lot of times I think it starts off harmless, with a little practical joking type stuff, but then it, or dares to do silly things, but then they become more emboldened because they feel like they're invincible. They didn't get caught, and then they just keep going and going, and the next thing, and next thing you know, they're hooked because they maybe experimented with some marijuana or something else, and and it's a different topic, but even social media, is right there, and I think that's having just as big of an issue with these kids, because they're either finding acceptance through social media or they're being shunned and they're dependent on it.
And in the brain, it's reinforcing that instant gratification for everything, right? And
which is what drugs. I've never used drugs, but I'm guessing.
I didn't like how I felt. Yeah. So I needed something to take that edge off, right? And so I think it's the same wiring in the brain, and you see it with all sorts of process addictions, whether it's Amazon shopping, whether it's gambling. It's all reinforcing the same pathways in the brain, and if we can limit or offset the exposure to these substances at a young age, they have a much better odds of not developing long-term problems.
Yeah, because what is it, like for the male adolescent, his brain isn't fully developed until he's 25, 26? Yeah. And so you're introducing all this other stuff before the brain's fully developed. It's no wonder that that they become dependent on something else or addicted to something, so.
It's going nowhere but the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, I like the confidence.
Yeah. There you go.
Just letting you guys know.
The old famous Babe Ruth.
Yep. Calling it. Nope. Pick that up though.
That's good in my book.
Yes, sir.
Get in there.
Nope. I said straight, and it went straight where I put it, which was not in the hole.
All right, kid. The first part of the day for all of us, I think.
Nice, right? Yeah,
nice
I think
job.
so.
Back to bogey golf.
So with 4D, you guys said they service, what was it, as many as up to 1,000?
Yeah.
What's the success rate, I guess?
So
approximately.
I think I'm gonna take a second there and look at that, because I think we define success in a couple different ways, right? I think I consider it a success if somebody goes back out, but they come back the next day and they say, hey, I messed up and I need some help. That's a success to me. Now, when we're looking at average abstinence and things like that, I want to say the young adult program, their clients are averaging about 130 days right now. I know that the adolescents, the kids, they're averaging 102 days sober right now, which, it's because we got a lot of new clients coming in as well, but they're just younger and still trying to figure out if this is a commitment that they want to keep forever, and I try to get them back to that mentality of just for today. But it is a little bit rougher. I think you can also look at it. We use a bunch of different metrics. So we have improved family relations. We have engaged in school. We have improved their housing. So we have a bunch of different metrics that we're recording all the time. And I will say 82% of our clients said that they've improved relationships with their parents. And that's a big one to me, because if we can get the family involved and positive, we know that their long-term success is going to go up, just based on all the other research.
Well, and I'm glad that you qualified what success is, because, you could look at it and I ask the question, what's your success rate? And then a lot of people say, well, success is them stopping using drugs and never using drugs again for the rest of their life. Well, we're never really going to know if that's the measuring stick. We're never going to know, for 60, 80 years whether or not there was success, right? But to have measuring points of, minor successes, and those are what I would think is what's key in the overall development and success of not using it again, is to having little successes each day, each week, each month, or as they go on.
And just overall having a better understanding of their recovery identity and what works for them, what community they feel a part of, whether that's AA, NA, PUSH, which is a skateboarding group. There's Refuge Recovery. There's a whole bunch of different options. So getting them exposure to those different communities, figuring out what's going to work for them, and them being able to take that action, get connected with it if they do go back out, that's a success for me.
Perfect.
Oh, no,
Come back.
no.
Oh no, not that far right. 4 left. Don't hit a house. Okay.
Got scary for a second.
I did.
That's going to be pretty good.
Ah.
I think you're all right.
I think I might be a little bit out, because it took a decent bounce.
Did it go left?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look for it down there.
What would you say is the highlight of what you do?
The highlight of what I do, and there's so many. Seeing people when it finally clicks, and then they make a change in their life, and then they realize that all the things that they've been through, the things that they thought made them like a delinquent or whatever, especially if they decide to get into the recovery field, becomes their greatest asset in helping another individual. And I've seen that countless times, where clients become mentors, and then mentors become supervisors, and then supervisors become regionals. Like I've seen that. And that's probably like the best part, aside from the overall impact that like peer services, recovery support services have on our community.
Bro, I think this is you.
Really? Nope.
No?
I'm a little further to the right. That's me. But I'll take it.
We get out of the way so Robert doesn't hit us. So I don't got to call Tony and say, hey, one of your guys is on the way to the hospital. Tony'd be like, what? Josh, what did you do? Robert did it. One of your own took out one of your own.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's, one of the things when I first, because I'm a mentor and a counselor, were the people that like drew me to this field when I got out of prison. But it was like, for me, God is using all of the things that were meant to destroy me as a benefit. Because I get to talk to people that have spent time in prison, right? That think that like, this is like, what am I gonna do different? I'm a felon. Like bro, so am I.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is what I do with Ideal Option, right? Like, and just being able to utilize that what was meant to be negative for a positive, coolest thing about life today.
100%. 100%. And that like, that also, just like it did with me, and probably you, it's like, gives us a sense of not only hope, but a sense of purpose. you know, and it's like that's what I pray for every night, man, is that, like, you know, God continues to show me the way, and, you know, I continue living within my purpose.
Yep, for sure.
And I feel like this is a big part of it. This is it.
Absolutely.
71. 71 to the pin.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, sit down.
Sit!
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we knew that wasn't gonna happen. Pick my head up.
Isn't it crazy in this sport? You're like, in the beginning, you're like, why can't I hit it? And then when you've been playing for a while, you're like, as soon as you hit it, you're like, that's not good.
Yep.
That's not stopping.
Yep. Yes, man.
Wait.
Ah!
At least it was a good camera shot.
Yeah. that was my intentions. That was my intentions. It's all for the camera. It's just the camera. So what would you say is the biggest barrier for 18 to 35?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
There's a lot.
yeah. I mean, there's like, that's the age when you're like just into the most shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, people who are, you know, adolescents, they tend to still have their parents in their lives and everything, you know. So it's like, you run into individuals that have like little to no stability, you know, and they're really at like rock bottom trying to build everything up. You know, when it's the adolescents, like we just said, it's more that like preventative approach that is most helpful. So I'd say, I don't know, that's a tough one. There's a lot of barriers. Right now, I'd say a lot of it has to do with the current landscape of like drugs in general. Fentanyl has definitely had like a huge impact. I think that what we're seeing right now is a lot different than what we were seeing with just, you know, pills or heroin, you know, and there's a lot of individuals losing their lives, more individuals losing their lives at like a higher rate. You know, especially because of how these pills are pressed.
Yep.
You don't know how much is in, you know, what side. You can have one side, cut it in half, and it can have like all the fentanyl in it, you know. So I'd say that that's the biggest barrier, you know, like
The drugs.
the drugs in and of themselves, you know, and then the changing in the landscape. But yeah, as of now, that's what I would say it is.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. At our organization, at Ideal Option, we own our own labs.
Mhm.
So we're seeing the variety. There's like 14 different analogs of fentanyl
Really?
that are going around, and you know the cartels are getting smart. You
Yeah.
know, as fast as we can be like, okay, this is the direction they're going. They're like, nope, just kidding.
Mhm.
This is the direction.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely is an interesting landscape when it comes to the drug.
Yeah.
The drug pool.
Yeah. I mean, and it's alien to think that, like, I mean, I don't even know. Like, is there even heroin? Do you guys come across heroin?
It's
at
actually
all?
coming back.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So in Lane County, where we're at in Lane County, 14 people that were arrested tested positive for heroin. Wow. Yeah, not fentanyl, heroin.
Damn. Yeah, because for a
And
minute
they
there.
had possession of heroin.
Really?
Yes.
Man.
Yeah. It's really sad to think that I would almost prefer that heroin come back and fentanyl go away.
That's what I like. I have the same feeling. You know, it's just like when you told me that, it's almost like not like a relief, but it's more like,
But a relief.
it's like a preference. You know, it's like, okay, like I'd rather hear that than the fentanyl shit. So
Because I feel like you could get a grasp on the heroin epidemic faster than we could fentanyl.
oh yeah.
Fentanyl, 90 minutes. Every 90 minutes, they got to get loaded.
Yep.
Heroin, it was like a breakfast, lunch, and dinner thing. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
just
exactly.
to don't get sick.
Exactly.
No! For right!
How
By for right, I meant for the street.
how far are we out? And where is it?
170. Oh, there we go.
Oh, why is it?
Good strike, just a little right. You'll be okay though. We're all over there.
Wow.
You might, you got a hold of that because I think that you are joining me.
So
in
is 4D all outpatient?
So,
Or it's not, or I maybe I'm saying that wrong. So it's not like your traditional recovery.
So it's historically it hasn't been clinical at all. It was essentially a spot for the recovery community to come, meet with some people with lived experience, have some events. We started in a warehouse and they had pool tables, and you'd show up and kind of just party sober. I am on the green.
Yes, you are.
But now we just opened up our first outpatient treatment setting, and so we're trying to expand just our dimensions of care and everything.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh,
Wow. Wow. I didn't think I hit it that hard.
oh,
Did that break?
yeah,
Man, this.
that was good.
Yeah.
We'll give you the par.
Bogey.
It's a bogey too.
Good putt.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll give you the bogey. I meant.
I know, right?
The whole honest
I was
program.
gonna say this is the convict side of it where we're not being quite honest.
I still haven't got over that dude that picked my ball up, man.
Before I retired, I would have got Brady'd. I'm retired now, so I don't have to worry about it.
He's a teacher,
Oh, really?
so it's kind of cool that he's asking questions because he's a teacher.
Like school teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, hell
Yeah. Yeah, so like we were saying before we figured out we weren't being filmed, what would you say is like something that you would tell the parents?
Just about addiction in general, to educate themselves on what addiction is, and also what recovery support services are available. Because a lot of times, if I go by my own experience, you know, my parents really didn't know what to expect and what addiction was, so they were just like, oh shit, you know, trying to figure out the best ways to be supportive and help me, you know, when they really didn't have any information or any point of reference.
Right.
So in order to do the best with that, I think that educate themselves.
Yeah, education is a key component of anything really, right?
Yeah.
But when you start looking at like addiction and you think about like, that one's mine. Get out of the way so we don't get hit. But when you start looking at like education components, I think a lot of times, you know, it's always, as a parent myself, it's always my worst fear to find out something negative about your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in today's society, bro, you hear about so much stuff with our youth, right? Like they go to hang out with friends and, you know, they didn't know that their friends as friends were doing something, and then they get peer pressured into doing something, and then they lose their life, right? But if parents aren't afraid to educate themselves and then not afraid to have that conversation with their kids, it keeps them out of services,
Yep.
right? Keeps them alive, but keeps them out of services.
Right. Yeah, I think fear is a huge component.
Yeah. So when you start looking at like, how would a parent reach out to 4D if they're in need of help?
I mean, there's several different ways. Our website is probably the main source. You can go on Google, or you can call our number if you so happen to have it. But we're pretty easily accessible. I think that we do a good job of promoting our recovery support services. But yeah, they go on the website. Depending on what they wanted, they can fill out a referral form. That referral form then goes to the recovery service director and then gets delegated, depending on what region the person needs services, to the appropriate supervisor.
Nice.
And then they'll give them a call.
That's perfect. Hopefully we don't get hit right now.
Yeah, I hope not.
No,
really suck.
Yeah, yeah. So, we caught that one.
Yeah, I think that the key is, like you were saying, right, is that education component for parents, because knowledge is power, right? I've continued to say that every time we do an episode, because having the understanding of what it is key. Another thing that I find interesting for education for parents is to be actively educating themselves, even as you deal with youth way more than I do, right? But even as a parent, as I work with law enforcement and as I do the things that I do, dude, I learn different terminology and different things that, there was like some slang for drugs, right? Like black, chiva, right?
Yeah.
Right, for like heroin, or like for meth, it was, people would call it shit, or, like all of these different all of these different terminologies. But like today, dude, they got so much slang. It's just not fentanyl, right? It's not, now it's Fetty and blues and 33s and like all of this crazy stuff, but it's like constantly changing. Because even the kids are doing and trying to do a better job of getting away with what they do.
Right.
It's nuts.
Right.
This has got to be you?
I'm hoping so.
Bro, that was smashed.
Dude, that was it. Oh, yeah.
That's you, bro.
I'm satisfied with it. How far out?
220.
220?
220. Smashed it. Oh, there we go.
If you're a parent, are you a parent?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're a parent of a teenage boy or girl, what would your recommendation be to a parent if they suspect that their parent or their child is potentially using, or they're noticing behavior that isn't quite consistent with who they are or what they should be, or who they normally are?
So I think just having honest conversation, kind of direct, is where I would start. And, I think sometimes parents struggle a little bit on trying to figure out whether they're enabling or being too hard, because you want to be able to keep communication open. And so if I was a parent and I thought my kid was struggling, or I knew my kid was struggling, I would want to get connected with like invitation to change groups, which kind of give us some tools on how to maintain that open communication where the kid feels comfortable coming and talking to the parent. And just that way too, the parents can get some community that understands what they're going through. I will say, if you're in Oregon and your kid needs help right now, there's not a whole lot of actual services that they can access, especially if they don't come from a family that has a lot of money. And I think, we need to mobilize our parents and we need to mobilize our workforce to demand that changes. And so that's what I'm kind of focusing on right now earlier I said, we had 37,000 kids struggling with substance use disorder, yet only 36 treatment beds for them to access. And those treatment beds include ones that require private insurance. And so I think we need to all come together and mobilize and build that system out. But aside from that, I think clear communication, trying to keep the conversation open. So maybe sometimes sitting through a conversation that you don't necessarily want to hear all the details to, but just so they feel safe coming to you with them. I know I have a 13-year-old daughter, and so a lot of the conversation right now is about boys, and I do not want to hear some of it, but I also want my daughter to know she can come to me. And I think it's kind of the same principle there. Please jump.
Over.
Please jump.
Oh, it listened. So along those same lines, so like from the law enforcement perspective, we'd have parents that would come to us all the time and ask, what do we do? And we'd talk to them about, have those conversations. But then I was always like, as well as like, you need to know one way or the other, they're living under your roof.
Yeah.
They're a minor. They have no right necessarily to privacy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people think that they might. Go search the room. You know, look to see what they have and what they're hiding in there.
Set boundaries.
And let them know you're going to be watching. But then the hard thing is once if you find something, how to have that conversation like you're talking about, because your initial worry as a parent is, I'm worried, I'm mad, I didn't raise you to be this way, right? So
Well, I think that's if I could offer any advice, and I don't know exactly what the solution is, but I think parents sometimes look at it and they think they did something wrong, and they start beating themselves up for it. And at this moment, it's not about them at all. Like, and so they need to stop personalizing it, I feel like, and be there for their kid.
right, and that's hard for a parent to be able to say, I did nothing wrong. It really is.
I think, we just got to remember we're all humans having a human experience, doing the best we can with the information that we have.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's stuff we can learn how to improve on and do better and all that stuff. But I've seen a lot of parents, especially parents in recovery, get clean, and then later on their kids are struggling with the same things, and then they're parenting out of guilt. And that's not helpful either.
What do you mean by that, parenting out of guilt?
Meaning they kind of want to be the kid's best friend versus like that authority figure that they need, that's setting the boundaries, that's helping them set goals, that's keeping things in perspective, right? Because they have so much guilt, all they want is to keep that relationship up, so they're kind of afraid of the confrontation.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of that firsthand when in my job is you talk to parents or you interact with parents of troubled youth, and the parents are wanting to be the kid's best friend as opposed to being the parent figure. And when that happens, then the kids tread all over the parents. They get to do whatever they want to do. There's no consequences in the home or, for anything that happens in the home, or even much less outside the home. So are these things that you talk to the parents about it at 4D as well? Or
So the first year we focus just on building out the youth services. Right now we're adding in, and we also contracted with a woman named Megan McAvoy to run our invitation to change groups. And there she worked on healthy boundary setting, healthy communication. Now this upcoming year, I'm working to meet the parents once a week, talk to them about what their goals are for their kid and for themselves. And then over a period of time, we're going to bring the kids' goals and the parents' goals closer together, and really work on that family unification piece.
good.
A little bit higher into that brake.
Oh my.
Trying to hit it straight at it because I don't know which way it's going to go. The birdie
Yeah, that's good.
dance avoids me again. Good putt.
Save that par. Yo, is that a human up there, man?
It sure is, finding golf balls. It's about 180.
All right, 180.
What do you got?
I play out here all the time, and I know they put Halloween decorations up. I came out here earlier this week, and I got to the tee box. I'm playing by myself, and I'm like, man, I caught somebody. 'Cause I saw this guy down here.
That's a decoration?
Yeah, I thought, and I'm
We
sitting
literally
there.
just thought it was a
I
human.
honestly thought it was like an old lady standing
I'm
there.
sitting there, and I'm like, what's this guy doing? And then I'm like, oh, is there a old guy from like a nursing home that got out and is lost? And I'm watching, and then it finally dawned on me.
Wait, that's not a real human. Damn.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's, for me, working at 4D, like I had worked, like I said, a lot of different jobs. I was in the Navy. I did the electrician thing. I had worked in a lot of different fields, and I never really understood what I was supposed to be doing, or I never really felt that sense of purpose or mission-oriented stuff. And so, you know, being able to work at the same organization that helped me save my life has been kind of a big blessing for me. And that's what I hope to create for the kids that are coming.
Well, are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
If you enjoy something,
we're shaking
no,
hands.
if you enjoy something, it's not work.
Yeah.
Get there. I'm double par easy.
Oh, it's bogey.
Thankfully, we're done.
All right, cool.
Oh, good
Oh,
putt.
there you
There
go.
we go.
It's the way to finish.
All right, as we wrap this up, I want to thank Creekside Golf Club again for allowing us to film out here, being so good to us and all of its members. If you're interested in being a part of a club, please reach out to Creekside. Talk to Danny Moore. He'll take care of you. They take good care of us out here. So we're super thankful for them. And then again, thank you to Rain Sweater for sponsoring us, as well as D Recovery. Adrian, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It was fun. Rodney, as always.
Yes, and to you guys, didn't get to talk to Adrian a lot, but got to spend a lot of time with Robert, got to know him, learned some great things about 4D recovery. Is there a phone number and an email that we can shout out to people and that they can contact you if they're concerned about their youth, you know, their child that's having some issues, they think there's some drug dependency?
So the quickest way to get any access to any of our services would be to go to 4drecovery.org. In the top right corner, there's a tab that says Get a Mentor. And all of our referrals get streamlined through that process. For anything to do with adolescents, you can reach me at robert.sanders@4drecovery.org.
And thank you both for what you do, because it's important. The youth of our world are our future, and we need them sober.
Yes. So again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.